everybody, it's Emily from the channel Mindfully Trading, and as you can see I'm not in my usual surroundings today, but I am sharing with you a live trading clip. Now I actually recorded this clip previously and found out afterwards that the audio didn't record properly, so the video clip itself is a live trading session, but I'm going to talk over it and share with you my thoughts, what I'm doing, the strategy that I'm using, and then obviously the trade management and the results themselves. So let's dive on the computer and break it down. Okay, so this is just prior to the London breakout session, and I'm just going through the different currency pairs here and just analysing them before the kind of volume comes in to see if there's any potential trading opportunities. So looking at the New Zealand dollar to the US dollar, I generally start on the higher time frames, the weekly, the daily, to get an idea of the trend going from my weekly analysis that I carry on a Sunday, and just see if there are anything that looks interesting in the price action. So looking here, we've kind of come up and hit that top trend line, and I've just jumped onto the daily to get a better idea. So we have been in this uptrend. We do seem to be pulling back, and there is room to this bottom trend line here. So I am looking at this with a short bias. And I have this horizontal ray place as a potential support, which is where we've had that bounce of the W there. But again, there is room potentially to go down to this point, which is where I'm looking at here. And this is on the 4-hourly time frame. So jumping onto the 1 hour and just generally going through, getting an idea of the story behind this currency pair, and then jumping into the faster time frames, which is where I take my intraday trades. And I'm just sort of using my trend line here to just plot some potential points of interest here and where we might see some potential breakouts for trading opportunities. So we have come up a little bit off this bounce. We are consolidating here, and that is what I'm interested in at the moment. And looking at the 4-hourly, I can see that the previous close candle is a red candle there, and we are opening below that, so it does support my idea of going for a short. And here on the 15-minute time frame and then the 30-minute time frame, again just getting an idea of the price action and looking at how long it may take, because it may fill the space in consolidation, and then if it does break to the downside, then I'd be interested in taking a short. That's my general strategy, if you like, is I tend to look for some consolidation using the larger time frames for support for the overall trend, and then I generally like to see a retest of the consolidation wedge once it's broken a trend line, and then a fail if we're going down, or obviously a fail if we're going up. And that's generally the strategy that I like to go with for my trades. So I'm just having a good look at these and checking it out here as we get closer to the London breakout session. We're already trying to break this bottom trend line here, so I'm just having a look through the different time frames. And this is where I generally do use the amazing tool by TradingView to get an idea of the profit and loss. So this would be like the risk and the reward. So there I'm looking at what my stop potential would be, because I would generally like to place a stop above this trend line so that I wouldn't get chopped out. And then I do like to keep a positive profit to loss ratio. So using the tool again, I generally aim for 1.5 or maybe a 2 ratio when I'm doing intraday trades, because it depends on the move itself, but as you can see, we're only really trading a short pullback here. So I'm just seeing what potential I've got for movement. And again, on the daily, it has come down and bounced off this horizontal ray. I think that's got potential to go back down to that horizontal ray for a retest of that, what is acting as a support level. So bouncing back onto the shorter time frames now. And I can see that it's potential to achieve a 1.5 ratio, maybe even a 2% ratio here, because we have got room to that horizontal ray. So once I've got an idea on that, I just jump back into my broker platform, into MetaTrader 4, and just get the currency pair loaded up there ready, along with the position size that I'm looking at taking, depending on my risk, depending on what stop I'm taking. Because I always try to risk the same amount per trade, I've got a separate video where I share how I calculate my lot size. I'll include a link above. But generally, I find out what my stop loss in pips would be, and then I use that to calculate what my risk would be, and then that would generally give me my position sizing. So here I've got a 0.02. Very, very low risk for me at the moment. I've got a small account and I'm learning, and it's all about survival for me. So that's why I'm using very small risk to build up my consistency, to learn how to be consistent, how to be profitable, and then I can go from that point. And as you can see, I do use TradingView as my main tool for charting analysis, but then I also use MetaTrader 4 platform with my broker Awanda to actually execute trades and to manage trades. And the charts on there are good as a reference, but I generally prefer TradingView to do my analysis, to use the drawing tools, to calculate profit and loss. So that's why I'm switching between the two screens here. And I can see that the New Zealand dollar to the US dollar is already starting to break down here. That's on the 15-minute chart on MetaTrader 4. And it's coming down quite fast here, but I'm waiting because I like to wait for 7 o'clock, which is when most of the volume comes in for the London breakout. And I'm also waiting because I like to see the candles close, and ideally I like to see a retest of that trend line, that consolidation wedge, before I'd get into a trade. And I find that's quite difficult at the moment. I find it quite hard sitting, waiting and watching the trade when I can see it going in the direction that I want to go in. I'm resisting the urge to jump into this trade now. I can feel the emotions, my heartbeat racing, my palms getting a little bit sweaty here, but I'm trying to persevere with it and just wait and be patient, because I do find that patience really does help when it comes to trading. But it's certainly something I'm still developing. And here I'm just watching the price action. I'm watching that 15-minute candle now. We've had the red one close. It is now 7 o'clock. We've got the green candle pushing up. So this may be the candle that is going to retest that trend line. So I'm just watching very carefully here, and I'm waiting for that opportune moment. It's all about getting those sniper entries, to not get in too soon, but then obviously to not miss the move as well. So I'm waiting here, and my ideal entry would be a retest of that trend line of the consolidation wedge and a fail. So that just means that it closes underneath the wedge. It doesn't break the wedge and it doesn't close inside the wedge. That's quite important because the wedge needs to be separate from the price action to show that price action is clearly going to go down to support my trade idea of going short. And I'm just watching this, I'm getting ready over the sell button here because we've had the green candle and we've pushed up, but we've come back down. We seem to be losing that buying power. So I'm just watching it because if it's quite strong to the downside, sometimes we don't see that retest and I don't want to miss the move. And as it pops up a little bit, I decide to get in because I really don't want to miss this move. I feel like it's broken out of this consolidation wedge and it is showing strength to the downside. So I get in here and I've taken a 0.02 lot size, and my entry is at 0.6474. And generally, once I get into the trade here, what I've done is I've just switched. You can't see my other screen, which is where I've got the charts open on TradingView, but I just switch over. I adjust my profit and loss tool that I use to calculate my stop loss and my target. I just adjust the middle point to where my entry actually is so that I can see clearly where my stop loss should be and where my target should be. And that's what I'm doing here on MetaTrader 4. So I've just dragged from that green dotted line, I'm dragging down now and dropping, and that's my take profit. And I've already done the same for my stop loss, which is the dotted red line above where my entry is. So my stop loss here is at 0.6504 and my take profit is at 0.6429, sorry. So I'm risking 30 pips here. I'm aiming for a 1.5% target. And what I've done there with the straight red horizontal line is I've placed my 1-to-1 just out of interest to see. So once price action meets that point, I know that I am already 1% into the trade, so I'm already at what I'm risking. So it's just a tool that I like to see just in case it gets close to my take profit target but doesn't hit it and then starts to show loads of weakness, then I know that that's a good point to cut the trade if I need to. And what I've done as well is I've also placed a horizontal line below my take profit, and that represents a 2% target. So the same again, if price action is moving quite strong and it comes towards my 1.5% take profit order, which is a hard order, then I may extend that order to 2% to try to let my winner run a little bit. But I like to just manage and keep on top of this because obviously we want to make as much as we can, but without compromising and getting too greedy and missing the move completely. So that's just the way I like to do it. I like to set a hard stop, a hard target. And I also just like to see where 1% is and where 2% is on the charts, just for reference. And once those are all set, I'm in the trade. I know that I've got a stop loss, so I know there's no risk there of running and low and blowing up my account. And I know I've got my take profit order. And this is generally the point where I need to just let the trade work for itself. So whether that means stepping up and walking away, trusting the analysis and trusting the process that I've done here. And that way, if the trade does go wrong, then I have some idea on where I'm going wrong. So if I'm going wrong, if it's technicals, if it's in my my stop and target, if I'm trying to achieve too much. But generally, this is the point I get to where I let the trade work out for itself. And I just load up Notepad as well, just for a quick reference tool here. So I've already noted my starting account balance, and then I just like to note down pretty much what I've just shared with you guys. So I just note down what time it is, what pair it is, the position size, my entry, my stop, my target. And then I just make a few notes as well on the setup itself, on why I got in, just while it's fresh in my head. I find it easy to do it where it's minimized, and I can also look at the MetaTrader 4 software just to get the information that I need. And then what I'll do is I'll copy the information from Notepad, and then I actually paste that into my permanent trading journal, what I use with TraderView. So risking 30 pips to make 45 pips. But I will observe that as it gets closer to that original target, and I may extend that to make 60 pips for a 2% target. And just notes here on my setup, so 1 hour and then also 15-minute consolidation wedge. But I do know that I've also looked at the higher time frames, the daily and the 4-hourly, to confirm the movement and the general trend of the currency pair. I'm just making a note that I didn't wait for a retest, because obviously if this fails, that's something that I need to develop on, because I generally like to wait for a retest. And once I've made my notes and my orders are all set, pretty much sit back and wait for the trade to work out. I do like to keep an eye on it, just to keep an eye on how price action's moving, if it's coming close to any take profit orders, so that I may adjust them if I need to. But generally, it's just the waiting game here. And here's just to share with you my analysis on TradingView, so you can see New Zealand dollar to the US dollar. And I'm just having a little look on the faster time frames just to see that we didn't get that retest, but we did seem to consolidate a little bit sideways here, which was where we saw that tiny bit of resistance. And it was as it broke that I decided to get short, because I felt that it was moving quite strongly to the downside. I didn't want to miss the opportunity. And this is where I'm very much aware that I need to be more patient with my trades. I do find it difficult in the moment when things are moving to remember that patience. And that's why I think mindfulness and meditation can help, which is what I need to work on. But here, as we can see, it's moving up. It's now above my entry. So I could have waited to get a better entry here, to get a higher entry for my short, as it seems to be moving up to potentially retest. But it did fail before I actually reached that retest, and it is selling off now. Okay guys, so it's later on in the day. I've come back now to my platform to see how the trade has gone. So the trade has finished and it has hit my target. So if we zoom out, we can see my consolidation wedge. We've come down really nicely, come back up for this pullback, and then gone down even further. So all in all, a successful trade. And just dragging my chart across here, I did actually take the 1.5% win on this one. So I won 1.5%, risking 1%. Although I can see from my chart here that price action did come down. I probably could have gotten a 2% win on this trade. And just going back into the hourly chart here. So price action does come down. It does touch where my 2% target would have been. I don't know whether if I'd have set that, it would have actually been triggered, because sometimes it doesn't always fit on the broker with the spreads. But I certainly got a 1.5% win on this. So it was a nice intraday trade, a nice little win to add to my account. And just jumping into the account history, you can see here, I did do another trade. I took a small loss and cut that when I could. But I can see the New Zealand dollar to the US dollar, and it did go all the way to hit my take profit. And it is a nice feeling when you see that green box there, because usually just means I've not had to tamper with the trade. I've just let the trade work, and it's done its thing, and it's made a nice win there. So all in all, a good day. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed that live trading recap on the New Zealand dollar to the US dollar. If you've got any questions, any comments, leave them below. And if you have enjoyed it, please drop me a like button because it really helps to show your appreciation for making these videos. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.